Well, my bracket didn't quite work out like I wanted. You can see I had to chisel out on the right side of it there to get it to notch around that piece. I didn't quite make it deep enough, which I thought I'd made it too deep. Honestly, I thought it was going to just roll around on there, but it wasn't quite deep enough. So anyway, I notched it so it would fit over the tip of that angle iron, and I think I've still got space to get a socket on my grease zert there, which I need to figure out right now because I need to actually let that out and try to push this idler in some for when we go to put this track back together. But anyway, I'll be surprised if that little bitty thin strip of metal ever lasts. It'll probably bend over against the grease zert somehow and then give me hell in the future. But for right now anyway, it's done, and I got the idler all the way in. So yeah, turns out it is not uniform. You got to get it in right side up. I didn't guess that. I just thought since the grease zert turned around 180, I'd just flip the idler over 180, but it doesn't work that way. Anyway, she's in now. Moving on. Here's something kind of silly, but something I'm proud of, I guess. This is the idler on Rosie. We've got it pulled out because we had to break the track anyway to replace that final drive. But while we had it out, I wanted to fix this. This idler assembly, most of y'all that watch this will probably know this, but this is what keeps your track tight. It's your tensioner system. And the way it works is you just push grease into this zert here, which pushes this whole piston out against a brace, which will then in turn push the wheel out against your track. It's a very simple mechanism, but you can't use it if you can't get to this zert. Now there's that piston, it shouldn't really have any reason to want to rotate, but it can. There's nothing that keeps it from rotating. Or at least not without this bracket. Now, this little bracket I just made, but I'll try to see if I can, let's see if the camera will see in here with the lighting. I'm not sure if it will or not. Yeah, so right back there, this is where the idler slides in, and right back there at the back, you see that little triangle weld just to the right of center? That's a little brace that when you put this square bracket that I have on here, the square bracket fits around that triangle point and basically will keep this cylinder from being able to rotate. It's very just simple. It's if it tries to rotate, it just hits a little bit of bump. It doesn't have to be anything real strong because it doesn't really have any incentive to rotate. It just needs to have some sort of stop. Now, years ago when I was working on this idler, I didn't know what that thing was for. I took it out trying to pull the idler out, and then I forgot to put it on when I put the idler back in, and was just like, oh well, what the hell, it'll be okay without it, hopefully. Well, it wasn't. So this zert had rotated around to the back. It was behind the cylinder, and I could never really get to it to grease up that cylinder. Luckily, the track never really went too slack on me, so it didn't matter. But now, I made me this little bracket yesterday. Since we had the track apart anyway, I went in and pulled it out. And I couldn't find the factory bracket. I'd had it around for years and then finally threw it away thinking I'll never need that. Of course, as soon as I throw it away, I want it, right? But this is just a piece of flat steel, and I hope it'll hang on there. The only real problem is these bolts, they're not through it. There's a notch. The piece of steel wasn't quite wide enough to actually be able to blow a hole straight through, so I just made a notch. I tightened them down as tight as I could. Once this is on there, this is going to be pinned flat against that back wall, so the bracket won't be able to move backwards to fall out of these notches. I'm not really sure what it would take for it to, like how it could rip its way out of there. I'm sure it could find a way. If this thing got real loose somehow and that idler bounced a little bit, then these could work their way loose or something, and then it could just fall out. But anyway, I just found a piece of flat steel, and I wedged it up in the track over there in one of the cracks in the track as a vise. Basically, just heated it up with the torch and bent it here, and then just cut the notch out so I can be able to get a socket on this to take it out if I have to. That's how you loosen your track. You would just take this grease zert all the way out and it'll just ooze grease out. So I should be able to get a socket on there to take that out if I have to. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to show that to you guys, just real basic. You know, if I were to try to go get that, I would have to call Link Belt. I doubt they'd have it in stock because it's an older machine, so they'd have to order it. It'd probably be like 40 bucks for the bracket, and I wouldn't get it for 3 more days. Today's Sunday. The new final drive is supposed to be in tomorrow, so we're hoping to get it thrown in tomorrow afternoon. So my project for today, one of them, starting to rain. one of my projects for today is to get this idler put back in. It just slides in. There's, other than just its sheer size, it's really not that difficult to work with. And for lifting it up, you just have to be able to get a cable hook or something through here. This is kind of your lift point, and the whole thing's pretty balanced, so you can just lift it up and just kind of fly it in there. And once you get it started in, you can just use a pry bar to give you some leverage. Hang on, I'm cleaning stuff up because we got this little pop-up storm. I don't want stuff getting raining. You just kind of fly it in, and these big springs all slide right into that barrel. It gets a little tricky because those springs will get caught up on the edge of some of the bracing, but like I said, just a good crowbar and the right amount of tension on it, and you can pretty well just scoot it right in there. I've done it by myself before. So, and I did it before I did it. I didn't even have the tractor, so I had to do it all with the bucket of the excavator, trying to curl it in tight. So it should be actually easier today having the tractor as an independent machine to kind of assist. But yeah, just want to show you that. Nothing crazy. It's super simple little bracket, but I'm kind of proud of it just because I thought to do it and managed to actually find a piece of junk iron. That's one of those things about farm life, I guess. You know, that's why farmers tend to keep a lot of junk and scrap around, is because times like this you find a use for it and it'll save you a lot of time and money. Just trying to show you guys this best I can. Setting this idler back in. It has a dedicated lift point right there, that little round hole where you can put a lifting pin or a lifting eye into it. I don't have that. So I picked up as close to it as I could, just around the frame of the wheel there, and it actually chain slipped and had to turn it back. And what I did was I just kind of flew it out over the frame of the machine here, so the bottom end was just barely sitting in that groove. And then just real easy started to lower it down. You see how the chain's back up on the end. Just tried to lower it down real easy, and in doing that, actually make the resultant force going that way. So then I got my 4x4 here, used a pipe or whatever, and just wedged up right underneath here to try to pop it and get it to slide in. And it's working okay. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more of it. Maybe actually show you guys what I'm doing here. If I can set my camera up somehow. Where it's binding now is right here. And that'd make you think the back end needs to come down. The back end can't come down. Huh. I had this thing all washed and cleaned out, so I know it's not doughed up on top of any mud or anything. It's odd. And it is hitting hard in there though. Not all the way in, not even close. Alright, tinker with it again, try to figure it out. Well, I am reminded these things are not uniform. See, that has a different profile. I thought you could flip it in right side up or upside down, but it doesn't appear to be the case. I think that's why it was hitting where it was. Because if you look inside of here in the beam, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a definite taper profile towards the back that should fit the taper profile of, I think, this fin, how it kind of curves. So anyway, I got it yanked out, flipped over. I spun the greaser at around 180 degrees. Now I'm going to stand it up and try to get it slid back in there. Hopefully the second time is faster than the first. So I was having hell with that leading edge tagging again. I remember what I did last time. I took a ratchet strap, and you don't really need a whole lot of weight, but it gives you a way to lift out at this end. Run it around that spring and back up. Hook it back on my chain here to give me more balanced lift on this thing. Really, your balance point should be that lifting eye. And since I'm just a little bit in front of it, it makes this inside end in here want to drop. So this kind of compensates that and picks it back up. So once I got that on, I just got it picked up now and slipped in there. So now you got to rig your strap off. Because once you get that leading edge in, then the hook of the strap wants to catch right here inside the frame. I'll get the strap off and maybe get my chain back out, or my hook back out of here. Back out of my chain. Really easy now. Got that out. Now let's see if I can slide the puppy in the rest of the way. Grand finale. See if you guys get it or not. Like that. Sweet. Still got weight on it. Hook back out of there. Whole thing took just long enough that I got rained on. I wouldn't have to pull it back out and put it back in. I would have made it without getting rained on and muddy. Now I'm filthy. Well, all right. See our little bracket in here. Well, maybe. Oh, I don't know. Autofocus lock. What the hell does that mean? Stop video. So here's my little bracket, and it doesn't look like it's gone back all the way that it needs to. It's like I didn't quite build it big enough. So I don't know if that'll work or not. I I'll try to reach in there if I can somehow and try to rotate that a little bit. Maybe if I rotate it down just a little, it'll drop over. I'm gonna have to try. I really want that bracket to work. I need that bracket to work. Well, my bracket didn't quite work out like I wanted. You can see I had to chisel out on the right side of it there to get it to notch around that piece. I didn't quite make it deep enough, which I thought I'd made it too deep. Honestly, I thought it was going to just roll around on there, but it wasn't quite deep enough. So anyway, I notched it so it would fit over the tip of that angle iron, and I think I've still got space to get a socket on my grease zert there, which I need to figure out right now because I need to actually let that out and try to push this idler in some for when we go to put this track back together. But anyway, I'll be surprised if that little bitty thin strip of metal ever lasts. It'll probably bend over against the grease zert somehow and then give me hell in the future. But for right now, anyway, it's done, and I got the idler all the way in. So yeah, turns out it is not uniform. You got to get it in right side up. I didn't guess that. I just thought since the grease zert turned around 180, I'd just flip the idler over 180, but doesn't work that way. Anyway, she's in now. Moving on.